I drove 6 hours back to my hometown to give my parents a surprise weekend visit for their 20-year anniversary and was at the mall, picking out a photo album when I heard my mom's voice. I looked up and my face went pale, because there was my mom with Mr. Grayson from 5 houses down, too preoccupied with kissing each other to notice me, standing 20 feet away while she was supposedly at book club with her friends. I drove 6 hours back to my hometown to give my parents a surprise weekend visit. Their 20-year anniversary was coming up, and I was at the mall picking out a potential gift. I had just texted my brother asking which photo album matches their vibe more when I heard my mom's voice. I looked up and my face went pale. On the other end of the store was my mom with Mr. Grayson from 5 houses down, too preoccupied with kissing each other to notice me standing 20 feet away. I immediately ducked and ran out. My hands were shaking as I called my brother Enzo. Where's mom right now? Book club with her friends. Why? Enzo. She's at the mall with Dominic Grayson. There, I couldn't even say it. What? No way. You're seeing things. I peeked back through the store window. They're literally holding hands walking into Pandora right now. I'm watching them. Silence. Then, holy shit. Holy shit. Dominic? From down the street? Yes. What do we do? Don't confront her yet. Follow them. I'm coming. I heard keys jingling. I'm 10 minutes away. Keep following and send me updates. I followed them for 20 minutes, documenting everything. They were sharing ice cream, taking selfies, him with his hand on her lower back. Every photo made me sicker. They went into Romano's and got seated. Enzo arrived out of breath. Where are they? Romano's. Just got a table. We need to tell Vera, his wife. You have her number? Mom does. They do that neighborhood bunko thing. He scrolled through mom's phone bill screenshot from our family account. Found it. The Graysons' landline. My hands were shaking as I dialed. Mrs. Grayson? Vera? This is Kai. From down the street. Scarlett's son? Oh, hi, sweetie. Is everything okay? I need to tell you something. Can you sit down? You're scaring me. What's wrong? I'm at the mall and Dominic is here with my mom. They're together. Like together. Silence. Then, what? I have photos. They're at Romano's right now. 3rd floor. I heard something drop on her end. Number no. He said he was at work. He said, her voice broke. We're so sorry. My brother Enzo is here too. We just found out ourselves. She was crying now. Send me the photos, please. I sent them. I heard her gasp, then sob. Vera, we're going to confront them. Do you want to? I'm coming. Her voice was suddenly firm through the tears. Don't do anything until I get there. 15 minutes. We need to call our dad too, I said. Enzo was already dialing. Dad, where are you? Hardware store. Why? Dad, mom's at the mall with Dominic Grayson. Dead silence. Then, what? She's not at book club. She's on a date with him. We have photos. Jesus Christ. We heard him breathing hard. Romano's? Yeah, Vera's on her way too. 10 minutes. He hung up. Mom texted the family group chat. Book club running late. Home for dinner. Love you all. Enzo responded, have fun, Mom. Vera arrived first. Her sister Sienna with her. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Where? Still in there. Window table. She looked through the glass doors and saw them. Fresh tears came. That's our anniversary spot. He takes me there for our anniversary. Dad arrived, looking destroyed. He saw Vera crying and just nodded at her. They didn't need words. I called my friends, Vera whispered. Margot and Thea. They're coming for support. Within minutes, her friends arrived. Margot immediately hugged her. Oh, honey. We need a plan, Enzo said. We can't all just storm in. Why not? Vera's voice was shaking. Why shouldn't everyone see what they've done? Dad nodded. She's right. Let's go. Walking into Romano's felt surreal. The host tried to seat us, but we walked past him. There they were. Mom feeding Dominic a bite of her pasta, both of them laughing. Dad got there first. Scarlett. Mom's fork clattered to her plate. Jasper? What are you? Book club looks different than I remembered. Dominic stood up. Jasper, listen. Sit down. That's when Vera appeared. Sienna holding her up. Dominic's face went white. Vera? Baby, this isn't our anniversary restaurant? Her voice cracked. You brought her to our place? The entire restaurant was staring. Someone whispered, oh shit. Mom tried to stand. We can explain. Explain what? Dad's voice was ice. 20 years of marriage? I stepped forward with Enzo. Mom? She saw us and started crying. Boys, please. You lied to us. Enzo said. Book club? Really? Vera was sobbing. Our kids, Dom. What about our kids? Dominic reached for her. Vera, please. Don't. She backed away. How long? How long? Mom was crying. 6 months. The whole restaurant gasped. Dad walked out without another word. We followed him. That night, Mom's texts exploded. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Your father doesn't love me anymore. You boys ruined everything. You don't know what I found out that made me do this. I remember showing Dad that because it kinda caught me off guard. All of a sudden, his own face went pale, and he told me he needed to go for a walk. I watched him leave through the front door, his footsteps heavy on the porch. Enzo and I looked at each other, both thinking the same thing. We should follow him. By 9:30, we were trailing Dad down our dark street, keeping enough distance that he wouldn't notice us. He walked slower than usual, his shoulders shaking every few steps. When he reached the park where he'd taught us to ride bikes years ago, he sat on one of the swings. The chains creaked as he rocked back and forth, head in his hands. 15 minutes later, Mom's car screeched into our driveway. She practically fell out of the driver's seat and ran inside, calling Dad's name over and over. When she saw us on the porch, she stopped. Her makeup had run down her face in black streaks. Where is he? She asked, grabbing the porch railing to steady herself. He knows what you did, Enzo said, his voice cold as ice. Mom rushed over and grabbed his shoulders hard. What did he tell you? What did he say about what he did? Before we could answer, Vera Grayson's car flew past our house. Through their living room window 5 houses down, I could see her throwing what looked like Dominic's clothes onto their front lawn. Porch lights started clicking on as neighbors came out to watch the show. Half an hour later, Dad came back. He walked right past Mom without saying anything and went upstairs. We heard drawers sliding open and shut. Mom ran after him, and soon her crying came through their bedroom door, muffled but desperate. My phone buzzed. Sienna, our 16-year-old sister, was texting from her friend's house. Why is everyone asking about Mom and Mr. Grayson? What happened? Enzo grabbed my phone and called her immediately. When Sienna got home 30 minutes later, her friend's mom had barely stopped the car before she jumped out. She was crying hard, running past Mom who sat alone at the kitchen table. We heard Sienna's bedroom door slam and lock. The next morning, Dad was gone before any of us woke up. His note on the counter said, "Staying at a hotel. Need time to think. Take care of your siblings." Mom found it first. I watched her read it 3 times before tearing it into tiny pieces. At 9, someone rang the doorbell. I opened it to find Rachel Grayson, Dominic's 17-year-old daughter. She was shaking. "Is it true?" she asked. "My mom won't stop crying and Dad won't come home." I brought her inside and made her tea while she talked. She sat at our kitchen table holding the mug with both hands. "I noticed things for months," she said. "Dad was always working late, always had excuses for where he was. Mom knew something was wrong but kept pretending everything was fine." After Rachel left, Enzo went into Mom's room while she napped on the couch. He came back with her laptop. "I need to check something," he said. After searching through her emails, his face got darker. "These emails from Dominic go back 2 years, not 6 months. She lied about how long this has been going on." I called Dad to tell him about the emails. His voice sounded exhausted. "I know. I've known for months. I kept hoping we could fix things." That evening, Mom ordered pizza like it was any normal night. She set 5 plates at the table. Sienna came down, looked at her plate, and threw it in the trash. "Stop pretending we're a normal family," she said before walking out. The next day, Dad texted that he was coming for more clothes. Mom spent 2 hours getting ready, putting on her best dress and doing her makeup perfectly. She looked desperate when she opened the door for him. When Dad arrived at noon, Mom tried to hug him. He stepped back quickly. "Don't, Scarlett." She started crying harder than I'd ever seen. 20 years, Jasper. Doesn't that count for something? "You threw it away, not me," Dad said quietly. He looked exhausted, like he'd aged 5 years overnight. "And your claim about finding something out? We both know you're lying." Mom's face changed, getting hard and angry. "You want to talk about lies? What about Barbara Mitchell from work? That trip to Denver you said was for business?" Dad's jaw got tight. "Barbara is just a coworker. Denver was a real work trip. Stop making up stories to excuse what you did." That evening, Vera texted me, "Can you kids come for dinner? My children need to see they're not alone." We went without telling Mom, who was on her 3rd glass of wine on the couch. The Grayson house felt hollow. Tom, their 12-year-old, wouldn't touch his food. Rachel kept checking her phone every few seconds. Vera tried to act normal but kept losing track of what she was saying mid-sentence. 3 days later, the anniversary party invitations still hung on our fridge. Fancy cards we'd ordered months ago. Mom saw them and ripped them down, burning them in the kitchen sink. The smoke alarm screamed until Enzo yanked the battery out. There's something about that text from the mom that's making me really curious. "You don't know what I found out that made me do this." And then Dad's face going pale when he read it. The next morning, Dad asked us to meet him at a diner. "I'm filing for divorce," he said simply, stirring his coffee without looking up. "I wanted you to hear it from me." When we got home, Mom was on the phone with Dominic. "You promised you loved me. You said we'd be together." She saw us and hung up immediately. That afternoon, Enzo packed a bag. "I'm staying with Dad," he told Mom. She grabbed his arm, begging him to stay, but he wouldn't even look at her face. 2 days later, Sienna's school called. She'd been skipping classes. When I asked her about it, she exploded. "Everyone knows. Everyone's talking about us." The next day, I stopped for gas and saw Dominic at the next pump. He looked terrible. Unshaved, wrinkled clothes. "I'm sorry," he said. "I ruined everything." I got back in my car without answering. A week later, the divorce papers arrived by certified mail. Mom signed for them in her bathrobe at 10 in the morning. She went to her room and I heard glass breaking. The next morning, I saw a for sale sign in the Graysons' yard. When I walked by, Vera was loading boxes into her car. "I can't live here anymore," she said. 5 days later, Dad showed us his new apartment across town. The furniture was cheap, the walls were bare, and it smelled like old carpet. Sienna started crying. "This isn't home." At 3 in the morning, I found Mom sitting in the dark living room with photo albums spread across the coffee table. "We were happy," she kept saying, running her fingers over old pictures. "Look how happy we were." 2 days later, Margot came to our door. I heard her tell Mom she wasn't welcome at their weekly card game anymore. After she left, Mom realized she'd lost her friends along with everything else. The following week, Sienna decided to move in with Dad. Mom stood in the driveway crying as Sienna loaded her things into Dad's car. My sister got in without saying goodbye. That night, I followed Mom when she left the house. She drove to the motel where Dominic had moved after Vera kicked him out. She sat in the parking lot for an hour, just staring at his room. The next morning, Mom spread job applications across the kitchen table. She hadn't worked in 15 years. Most of them sat half-finished, like she couldn't focus long enough to complete them. A week later, our house went on the market. Mom couldn't afford the mortgage alone. She walked through each room, touching the walls, whispering goodbye to memories. 3 days later, while packing up Mom's closet, I found a shoebox full of cards from Dominic. She snatched them from me. "These are all I have left." The next week, Sienna called me upset. She'd seen Dad having coffee with a woman from his gym. It felt too soon for him to be meeting someone new. Mom found out about Dad's coffee date 2 days later. "He moved on already? This proves he never loved me." Her logic made no sense, but she believed it completely. A week later, the house sold faster than expected. Mom had 30 days to pack up 20 years of life. She sat in the empty living room where we'd had so many Christmases, just staring at the walls. Moving day came too fast. Mom's new apartment was tiny, right next to the highway. The walls shook when trucks passed. As we carried boxes up the stairs, she kept apologizing. "This isn't what I wanted for us." 2 weeks later, on Thanksgiving, Mom ate alone while we went to Dad's. She texted us a picture of the small turkey she'd made for one person. Enzo deleted it without opening it. The next day, Dominic showed up at Mom's apartment while I was helping her unpack. "We destroyed everything for nothing," he said, then turned and left. Mom watched him go from her window. A week later, Mom went to her first support group meeting. She came back quiet and withdrawn. "I'm the only one there because I cheated," she told me. Everyone else was cheated on. The next week, at Sienna's school play, Dad brought his new girlfriend. Mom sat alone in the back row. They didn't look at each other once. When Sienna saw them both, she forgot her lines and stood frozen on stage. 3 days later, Mom finally got a job at a department store. The pay was barely enough to cover rent. That night, I watched her cut up all her credit cards with kitchen scissors. The following week, Mom found the photo album I'd bought for their anniversary, the one from the mall where I'd caught her with Dominic. She held it, not knowing I was was there that day when everything started falling apart. 2 days later, Enzo graduated from college. He didn't invite Mom. She found out from Facebook, scrolling through pictures of him in his cap and gown, crying at each one. A week later, Mom ran into Vera at the grocery store. They both froze in the cereal aisle, holding their carts. Vera turned and walked away. Mom left her cart full of food and drove home. The next month, Dad made his relationship official on social media. Mom saw it and deleted all her accounts that same day. "I can't watch him be happy," she said. 2 weeks later, a new family moved into the Graysons' old house, a young couple with 2 small kids. Mom sat in her car watching them unpack, seeing the life she used to have. A few days later, Mom started therapy. After her first session, she barely spoke. The therapist asked why I did it. I couldn't answer. I don't know why I threw everything away. The following week, Sienna agreed to have dinner with Mom. They met at Romano's, the same restaurant where everything had exploded. Mom didn't realize until they sat down. Sienna stood up and left immediately. 3 days later was what would have been their 21st anniversary. Dad posted nothing online. Mom sent him a long text that he never answered. I saw her checking her phone every few minutes all day. A week later, Mom wrote Vera a long apology letter. She showed it to me but never sent it. I don't expect her to forgive me. I just needed to write it down. On Christmas morning, we spent the early hours with Dad and his girlfriend, then drove to Mom's apartment for dinner. Her tiny tree had half of our old ornaments. The other half were at Dad's. Nothing was complete anymore. On New Year's Eve, Mom texted all of us at midnight. "New year, new start. I love you." Enzo deleted it without reading. Sienna didn't respond. I just sent back a heart emoji. 2 weeks into January, I helped Mom hang pictures in her apartment. Just photos of us kids, none with Dad. She looked around the small room at her reduced life. "This is my life now," she said. I did this to myself. For once, she was telling the truth. Well, folks, that's my cue to exit stage left. Appreciate you letting me crack wise while we traveled through this tale together. If you made it to the end, drop a comment. I love reading all your comments.